What's up, y'all? I'm out here at the range, as you can see back behind me, on what's turning out to be a nice sunny day. Temperature started out below freezing out here, so I had my jacket on, but it's climbing pretty quick. I had to shed that thing pretty fast. But I'm definitely not complaining because that cold winter weather is going to be here before you know it. I've got a couple more interesting tests planned for out here today, and this one right here should be a pretty good 40 Smith & Wesson. So the jelly contraption is ready to roll with a couple of chronos and 2 blocks of gel. Now I've done one test so far. It was a pretty interesting 9mm test, so I'll leave a link above if y'all hadn't seen that. Plenty of room to get this one right here done. Like I always mention, I am using a heavy clothing barrier that's got a layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. And what we got for this one is some stuff that I've actually had for quite a while. I just hadn't tested it. It's some stuff from Aria Ballistics Engineering that was actually sent to me with a couple of other 10mm rounds. I actually did test one of the 10mm rounds, and as far as I can remember, it did not do very well at all. Now, y'all know I have very high picky standards for 10mm, but even that being said, I think just for even basic run-of-the-mill 10mm, from what I can remember, it just was not real impressive at all. So I've just had this stuff sitting here just because, honestly, I don't want to seem like I'm picking on any ammo company if I test something and I don't think it does well, and then I test something else from them and I still don't think it does well. I don't want to seem like I'm just picking on some company just for the sake of doing it. But I figured I'd go ahead and give these a run because I don't think this possible to get too bad of a performance from 40 Smith & Wesson. So again, what we got here is the Aria Ballistics Engineering Raptor round in 40 Smith & Wesson. This is a 150 grain solid copper expander. Now the ballistics they're showing is 1225 feet per second, so it would give you 499 foot-pounds if we get that 1225. Now I couldn't find any kind of test barrel link, so I'm not sure what they tested that from. Here's a look at your cartridge, brass case there with that nice solid copper expander. There's no doubt in my mind that these are going to do well in the gel. Solid copper expanders, especially a 40 Smith & Wesson, again, it's going to be very hard to get that not to perform well in the gel. So with that being said, we're going to give them a couple different barrel lengths to work with out here. For the shorty, I've got the Glock 27 with roughly a 3.5-inch barrel, and then for the long one, we've got the Glock 22 with the 4.5-inch barrel. So like I always mention, if you've got a 23, you're working right in between these, so you can kind of guesstimate in between the performance of what you see here. So hopefully these will do a good job for us out here. Let's get it all set up and find out what happens. All right, let's find out the velocity on these Raptors. I'm gonna do a 5-round average from each barrel length, starting with this 27 first. Now y'all gonna see multiple readings from this lab radar. The large numbers right here at the muzzle, and then you've got 5 across the bottom. The first one set for 3 yards, which is roughly where the gel is here at 10 feet. And then I've got the other set for 10, 15, 25, and 50 yards. Now remember, the box on this is saying 1225 with no barrel length listed. My guess would be 4.5 inch or so. So I don't expect to see that right here, but it'll be interesting to see how close we get. 1055, 1042, 1047, 1049, and 1054. So I mean, they all went bang. That's about all I can say. I mean, that's just some pretty weak 40 Smith & Wesson. See, that's one of the reasons that I didn't even want to test no more of this stuff. Let's get it reset and see what the 22 does. All right, let's see what this 22 does with it. Based on the velocity of that 27 with this little bit of barrel length difference, there's no way we're hitting that 1225. There's just absolutely no way, y'all. Let's see how far off it is. 1099. 1110, 1063, 1077, and 1074. And again, y'all, that's why I put off testing more of this Aria stuff, because it's just weak as pond water. I mean, that's just weak. There's no civil, nice, polite way to say it. This stuff is just plain old weak. Let's check out the average. All right, y'all, that's about what I figured for an extra 1.5 inches a barrel. We didn't even get 50 more FPS. So our average right there was 1,084 feet per second. We had an extreme spread of 46 with a 19.1 standard deviation. So 1,084, I mean, they're talking 1225 on the box. What kind of barrel length are you getting that from? These things, it was the same way with the last stuff from this Aria that I tested, just incredibly weak loaded. But anyway, 1,084 right here, and if you remember out that G27, it was 1,049, so you're only talking about 35 feet per second difference between these. So at these kind of velocities, I mean, they are solid copper expanders, so maybe they'll still expand. I think last time, I don't remember what happened with that 10 mil. All I know is it was terrible. So let's just get this stuff reset, and y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, this is vegetarian Raptor jelly time. I'm gonna put one through each barrel length into the gel, starting with this 27 first. I'm honestly kind of concerned if these things are even going to expand. I mean, it's bad to have to say that for a solid copper expander in 40 Smith & Wesson, but I'm really kind of worried about it. I think I might have curved out the side on that one right there. Let me go see what I got. All right, y'all, that's definitely not what I expected to see right there. Those things acted like a civil defense or a telos or one of those fragmenting rounds with the segments that segment all apart with the base that keeps going. I don't think that's what this round is meant to do. I could have swore it's supposed to be a copper expander. I could be wrong on that now. Maybe it's supposed to do that, but I really don't think it is, because I don't remember reading anything about any kind of segmenting like that. So who knows? I don't know what this thing's supposed to do. Whatever it's supposed to do, though, it's just incredibly weak. This stuff is incredibly weak for a 40 Smith & Wesson, y'all. Let's see what it does through this G22. I mean, it's obviously going to fragment if it did that through the 27. I can't tell where that one went. Let me go see what I got. All right, let's check this stuff out down here, y'all. I couldn't tell where I put the other one because I put it right beside that first one, right up under it. They're completely separated, the tracks are. It kind of went under and then now it's behind that other one, and then it goes a little further. The only thing that ran together were the tracks and all from these little segments, because again, I don't know if this ammo is even supposed to do that. If it is, then it did what it was supposed to do without a doubt, but it's still just weak as can be. This stuff was, even out of a full-size G22 40 Smith & Wesson, this stuff is well under 400 foot-pounds of energy. I mean, just let that sink in for a minute. And again, if these are supposed to be solid copper expanders, I mean, this is an absolute miserable failure, not just because of the weak velocity and energy, but this is a total failure. If this is a copper expander, you can see here. So with that being said, they both look nearly identical, just like these segmenting rounds pretty much always are, no matter what brand and type. Usually when you get these kind of rounds, that little center core always goes the same distance, really, regardless of the barrel length. So they did exactly that here. You can see those segments came apart and lots of disruption right here all the way through this first block. The center chunk goes, it passes into this second block. Probably the first one here from the 27, that one's probably a good 4.5 to 5 inches, and then the one from the 22 is right behind that. That's another inch further. So massive penetration from these and tons of fragmentation or segmentation, I guess you would call it, down here. So as far as your penetration measurements, the one in the front there that was from the G27, that one is at 20.25 inches, and then the one behind it went a little bit further from the G22. That one's at 21.25 inches. So both of them, tons and tons of penetration. As far as this segmentation field, you got them between about 3.5 to 5 inches, and then as far as the diameter across, that's about 4 inches worth there. So about a 4-inch diameter pattern there that starts from about 3.5 out to 5 inches. And then here's your close-up look. As you can see, they are separated except for those segments. Once those things come apart, y'all know from past testing, they do what they want to do. As far as the main tracks though, they stayed separated. You can see one's just behind the other one. They look really, really similar passing into this second block, and then there you see both of the cores left over. And then from the top, pretty much the same thing again, just a massive fragmentation or segmentation field. and then your separate tracks going through the first block into the second block, and there they land. All right, let's check out the base of these projectiles, y'all. So as you can see, they both broke off cleanly, all 4 petals. So you got 4 petals that broke off from each one. Definitely a clean break right there. If these are not supposed to be segmenting rounds, I mean, they did a great job of being a segmenting round for sure. As you can see there, again, nice clean break. As far as the rifling, I know some people like to see the rifling, but other than that, not a whole lot left to say about these projectiles other than just getting some measurements on them and see what kind of loss they had. So let's check that and see what we got. Both of them started at 150. I don't even remember which was which here. This one is down to 103.4, so right much loss right there. And then this one here is 103.2, so looks like about 103 left on both of them, so you lost 46, 47 grains, so a pretty decent loss as far as those petals. And then as far as the sizes, I'll do the diameter and length again. You got 400 on the diameter, and then a length of 435, and then this one here, you got 400 on the diameter again, and then a length on this one of 410. So there you go, y'all, the Aria Ballistics Engineering 40 Smith & Wesson Raptor round. Again, this is just a confusing one. No matter what this projectile is actually supposed to do, this is just really, really low. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic energy for a 40 Smith & Wesson. I'm just not even going to sugarcoat it, y'all. You know that under 400 foot-pounds from a full-size 40 Smith & Wesson, that just is not the way. So I just got to be perfectly blunt about this one. I would not recommend personally getting anything from this Aria Ballistics Engineering. All right, y'all, I'm going to end it off right there for a pretty sad 40 Smith & Wesson performance. I'd really like to say I'm surprised by this, but I'm actually not. You know, when I left the house with this stuff, I was debating whether to even test it, because after that bad performance from the 10 mil, I just figured it was going to be another bad performance. And in here, I was going to be looking like somebody just bad-mouthing some company just for the sake of doing it, which is totally not the purpose. I actually already had the jelly time saying and the title for the video picked out based on this stuff doing well. So I've got to come up with new names and all that jazz now. So believe me, I never come out here hoping for anything to do bad. I hope for all of it to do well, but if it's not the case, it's just not the case. People deserve to know what they're going to get if they get this stuff, so I'm not going to sit out here and sugarcoat it and make excuses. This stuff is loaded just incredibly weak. It's marketed as defensive and or hunting round. For defensive purposes, most people would have an absolute fit over that penetration from that core. I'm not one of those, but y'all know, and probably some of y'all out there would have an absolute fit over that. So for defensive purposes and with less power than a decent 9 mil, absolutely not. And then hunting purposes, what the heck are you hunting with this? I mean, sure, you can take game with all kinds of weaker stuff even than this, but I hope you ain't trying to go after anything real feisty with this stuff right here. But that's about all I can really say about this stuff. I have actually 2 more 10 mil loads, I believe it is, but I don't know if I'll ever test those. The thought about having to come out here and test 10 mil that's going to be incredibly weak and get my blood pressure up and all that, I just don't even know if I'm going to bother with those other 2 10 mil rounds. But y'all let me know down in the comments what you think about this stuff. Have any of y'all ever gotten anything from Aria Ballistics? And what kind of rounds have you gotten from them? What do you think about the performance from this stuff? Do you think I'm being just too harsh on it? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. If you did enjoy the video, take a second if you would and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you got those notifications on so you get notified when I upload new stuff. Y'all take a second, hit up those affiliate links down in the video description if you're doing some shopping. Lots of really good stuff down there, and anything you get after checking those out, I get a kickback from them towards the channel, so I really appreciate that. Big thanks once again to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. I've got one more really interesting test planned for out here today, so stay on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.